Hi friends, welcome to English Study Point. Today in this video lecture I am going to talk about different mediums which different kinds of slaves adopted after achieving freedom in order to depict their emotional pain. First, I am talking about oral slave narratives. These slave narratives were popular during the 18th and 19th centuries. So, such types of narratives were written both during and after the abolitionist movement. Then, definition of slave narratives, these are autobiographical narratives of former slaves. So, slave narratives are actually autobiographical accounts written by enslaved individuals or former slaves that provide an insight into the harsh realities of slavery. These narratives serves as an important historical sources because it sheds light on the experiences and perspectives of enslaved people. Also, it gathers up thousands of oral histories of former slaves. It also provides a kind of documentary evidence by depicting horrors of slavery. The first known American slave narrative is a narrative of the uncommon sufferings and surprising deliverance of Breton Hammond, a Negro man, which was published in the year 1760. Here you get to know about how these songs and music hold importance in the life of slaves. So, first, enslaved Africans came from different ethnic backgrounds and spoke different languages. Singing was a way to communicate during their voyage to America. So, for the slaves from different tribes and cultures, music served as a kind of universal language that allowed them to communicate and understand each other, especially when they were separated from their families and communities. They were able to look for kin, countrymen, and women through their songs. Also, they are able to maintain cultural identity through these songs. So, slaves brought their cultural traditions and music with them from Africa. These songs and music help them maintain a sense of cultural identity and get them connected to their African roots. They sang songs in their native language and also incorporated traditional African rhythms and instruments into their music. Music provided a means of expressing their frustrations, anger, and aspirations for freedom. So, music serves as a form of protest and resistance. Narratives, different types of slave narratives, often mention songs that conveyed coded message about escape routes, hidden dangers, and plans for rebellion of these slaves. And examples of slave songs are like Go Down Moses, Steal Away. These are examples of songs which are sung by these slaves, and these songs express desire for liberation. Music served as a coping mechanism for their suffering. We know that these slaves lived under oppressive conditions and endured extremely difficult circumstances. So, this music served as an emotional outlet and a coping mechanism for their suffering. Singing songs allowed them to temporarily escape reality and find solace and spiritual comfort. Music played a significant role in creating a sense of community and solidarity amongst slaves. So they would gather together to sing and dance, which creates a shared experience that fostered a sense of belonging and unity. These songs and music were a way to maintain hope and a shared vision of a better future. Songs and music were also used to record oral histories and preserve cultural traditions. So these slave narratives contain references to songs that were passed down through generations and served as a way to remember their history, ancestors, and struggle for attaining freedom. They kept the rites, rituals, cosmologies of Africa alive in America through stories, healing, art, songs, and other forms of cultural expression. Their singing created a kind of spiritual space. So we can say that these songs and music were powerful tools in their lives, or in we can say that in the lives of enslaved Africans, providing them with means of communication, resistance, cultural preservation, and also it acts as a way for their emotional release and community building in the face of unimaginable hardship and oppression. Here I am going to tell different characteristics of written slave narratives. First, it comprised of first person perspective. Most slave narratives were written in the first person, allowing the enslaved individuals to offer a first hand account of their experiences. Then they are autobiographical in nature, sharing about author's life story from their childhood or time in slavery to their eventual escape or freedom. These narratives also gives detailed description of authors' experiences and hardships endured during slavery, includes accounts of physical and emotional abuse, separation from family members, harsh living conditions, etc. These narratives are testimonies of injustice which highlights injustices, various sorts of injustices and atrocities of slavery, shedding light on the brutality and dehumanization faced by enslaved individuals. They aim to elicit sympathy and support for the abolitionist cause. These narratives also contains religious and moral themes. So slave narratives contain references to religious faith and salvation, emphasizing authors' belief in God's ability to deliver them from slavery and the moral principles guiding their resistance or escape. Some slave narratives emphasize the author's pursuit of education and literacy, which eventually showcase intellectual capabilities and potential of these enslaved individuals. Some slave narratives incorporated the use of dialect and vernacular language reflecting the author's speech patterns and cultural background. This helped provide an authentic portrayal of their experiences and voice if they do this. It also contains references to family and community. So they emphasize means these slave narratives emphasize importance of family and community ties, depicting struggles of separation and desire for reunification. Some slave narratives calls for radical action and rebellion against the institution of slavery. By doing this, they actually want to challenge social and moral order of the time. Many slave narratives concluded with the author's escape or liberation, ending with his ultimate triumph or victory. Here I am talking about specific characteristics of American slave narratives. First, it chronicles the evolution of white supremacy in the South. So these narratives depict how whites are able to dominate over southern part of America or American South. Slave narratives are first-hand accounts. They are written by the very individuals who were enslaved, offering an authentic and personal perspective on the atrocities of slavery. This makes them valuable in understanding the physical, emotional, psychological toll of bondage. Then through these narratives, they means slaves are also able to share personal stories and life histories. So these slave narratives chronicle the life stories of the authors, beginning from their time in slavery and often extending to their escape or liberation. These accounts provide a detailed narrative of an individual journey through slavery, including their hardships endured and the strategies adopted to resist or cope with oppression. Slave narratives provide vivid descriptions of the brutalities and injustices experienced by enslaved people. So they talk about physical abuse, sexual exploitation, forced labor, deprivation of basic human rights. These narratives often expose the dehumanizing practices and the degrading condition of slavery. These slave narratives also stood out as the testimony of resistance and survival because they document acts of rebellion, defiance, also shows act of courage, showcasing agency of enslaved people in the face of extreme adversity. These narratives challenge or prevailing stereotypes of passive and submissive slaves. So these are major characteristics, specific characteristics of American slave narratives. These slave narratives played a significant role in shaping public opinion and promoting abolitionist cause. Slaves, by sharing their personal stories, enslaved individuals sought to expose the realities of slavery to a wider audience and raise awareness about the need for abolition. Many slave narratives serve as a powerful literary tools to challenge the legitimacy of slavery and advocate for social and political change. So, here I would like to conclude these slave narratives. So, these slave narratives are a powerful genre of literature. It not only documents personal experiences of enslaved individuals but also contributes to our understanding of the history of slavery and fight for liberation and equality. Then, with this video lecture ends here. Hope this video lecture will help you in your UGC NET English Literature exams. Thank you.